Amigos, muy buenas tardes. Muchísimas gracias a todos los que han estado siguiendo a lo largo de estos 2 días las clínicas impartidas por el staff de los Borregos Campus Ciudad de México. Estamos ya por terminar con esta Master Talk, el cual estará a cargo del coach Joyner. Así que le damos los micrófonos al coach Carlos Vega para que nos presente a nuestro invitado y obviamente para darle las gracias a todos los que han estado siguiéndonos acerca de estos 2 días. Coach Carlos Vega, le damos los micrófonos.
Thank you, Ernesto. We are really pleased, very happy to be here and finishing all of these sessions that we have been sharing with all of the people around many countries, many places from Mexico, many states as well, and many teams, and sharing a lot of information, a lot of philosophies, talking about many subjects in offense, defense, and all of this position that this beautiful football has for us. And now we are very pleased, very happy as well, because we have this third invited master coach that we have this honor to have. John Joyner is a really good coach from Chula Vista, California. He's coach. He has been the head coach in Mater Dei, and he has been like coaching really good players as this running back Verdell that has been drafted to the Oregon Ducks. So he's like pushing very hard in the football and having really good players for college teams. And coach, thank you so much for having you here. And we are really happy to listen to the experiences, and if you can share some philosophy. We were talking a little bit that we have young kids learning, and these sessions are especially for coaches that want to learn more, and we want to expand our ideas of how to do it, how to manage with our philosophies and deal with many troubles that we can have during our development. So thanks so much. John, please.
Well, thank you. I first want to say thank you to Coach Vega, the whole Borregos staff for inviting me to do this. This is great. I've been lucky enough to not just coach football, in the United States. I've been coaching high school football for 18 years now. I've been the head coach in Mater Dei Catholic for 10 years or 11 years now. And so I've been very blessed, but I've also gotten a chance to speak at a clinic in Ensenada, put on by one of my coaches, Edgar Morales, who's from there. Got to do a youth clinic there, and I got to coach football in Australia for a whole summer. So I love that the game of football is growing. I love that you guys are doing these clinics. I'm a big clinic guy myself, and I think that's one of the most important parts of this game is that we as coaches all share this information together. I love reading, watching videos, going to clinics, sharing all the information. So hopefully I can talk to you guys a little bit about our program, about what we do, and then, answer any questions that you guys might have. I apologize that I can't give this talk in Spanish, but I got to work on my Spanish. My daughter speaks better Spanish than I do, so I got to work on that. But I'll start sharing my screen. I have just a little bit of a PowerPoint to put together. And then, like I said, you can ask me any questions that you might have about our program, about the history of our program, what's going on, and then, schematically or anything like that. So let me see if this works here. This is the first time I've ever given a talk on Zoom, so let me know if it's not working or if you guys can't hear me or anything like that. But when I first talked to Coach Vega, he had asked me to maybe do a clinic about how we kind of organize our program, how we manage as coaching staff, manage the players, kind of everything like that. And so that's what I'm going to try to focus on today is just the identity of our program, how we go about it, and everything like that. That's my title. I'm the head football coach of Mater Dei Catholic. Like I said, I've been at the school for 13 years. I've been the head coach for 11. We are a co-ed school, 9th grade through 12th grade. We have about 950 kids. So we're kind of a medium-sized school, but we've been very successful. As Coach Vega said, I'm very blessed with amazing coaches, and amazing players. We've been very successful. We have 2 guys currently playing in the NFL, and I think we have 17 guys playing college football in 6 different states around the United States. So, and we have 1 guy, CJ Verdell at Oregon, who's hopefully going to win the Heisman next year. But that's my email, jjoyner at Modern Day Catholic. Please feel free to shout. I know there's coaches on here I've met a couple years ago at Knicks and different things like that. We're really open. You guys coming to visit. We are a wide open program. You can come visit us anytime. You can come to practice, sit in meetings, come to games. I'll leave tickets, whatever it is. If you ever make a chance to make it to San Diego or Chula Vista, you're more than welcome to come by. And then that's my Twitter handle. I'm not very good on Twitter. I'm kind of boring, but if you want to follow me, there's a lot of information on our players, where they're going to college and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess Twitter's kind of the new thing. So I'm not a Facebook guy. I don't have Facebook or anything like that, but I do have Twitter. So for us, organizing, managing, and coaching staff, I took over. I took over Modern Day Catholic. I was 27 years old. So I was really young. I had been coaching for about 6 years or 7 years or something like that but I'd never been a head coach. Modern Day Catholic, if you ever come visit us, you'll see it's a very beautiful campus. We're very blessed and very spoiled. So they came to me, I was 27. I was the defense coordinator. They said, "You want to be the head coach?" I said, "Yeah," but I wasn't ready to be a head coach at the time. I wasn't going to turn it down. And so I had a very different vision for the program than the previous head coach. And so what I realized right away when we took over, we weren't very good. And what I realized was that I, as a head coach, had to figure out what I wanted. If it was my program, if the program is going to have my name on it, what did I want that to look like? And I like this quote by Mike Singletary, and it says, "I feel that a great coach is one that has a vision, sets that in place, has the right people in place to execute that plan, and then accepts its responsibility if that plan is not carried out." I like that because I think that sums up, to me, the best part of a head coach. I worked for 2 very, very good head coaches before me, a guy named Jerry Ralph, who was a very successful high school coach, and a guy named Matt White, who was a very successful high school coach. And they were complete opposite kind of guys. But one thing I learned from them is a head coach is only as good as his assistant coaches. That nowadays, and building a program, I don't care what level you're at. I don't care if it's the NFL, college, high school, or youth football. If you're coaching a program, you need help. And you need to find the best men possible. Now, those men, I'm going to talk about their responsibilities. I'm going to talk about what they need to come in and do and the mentality they need to have. But this quote says it best. I need to make the plan. I need to set those things in place, but I need the right people to help me execute that plan. At the end of the day, it's my name there, my name on the program. When we lose, it's my name they're yelling at, and my name in the newspaper and all that good stuff. So it has to be my vision, and I have to find great men who want to help me with that vision. And so that's the first thing that I needed to do when I took over Modern Day, was say, what don't I like? What do I like? But what do I want everyone to kind of think about Modern Day football? So everybody involved in our program, we don't call it a football team, we call it a program. So we'll have about 90 football players from 9th grade to 12th grade, about 16 assistant coaches. I got a team trainer, I got a team doctor, team managers, equipment man, everyone who's involved in our program has to have the same vision, not just the coaches, not just the players, not everybody involved. Anybody who's wearing Modern Day shirt needs to have the same vision. So what is the vision for your team, your program, and your organization? Okay. If that's not clear from the top, you can't hold other people accountable. You can't hold assistant coaches accountable if your vision isn't absolutely clear. Okay. I think the second thing a head coach needs to do is figure out, what are your goals as a head coach? For me, if a head coach talks to me about winning and losing, I think he's only doing half the job. Okay. Again, I work at a high school. So if I only cared about winning and losing, and I wasn't concerned about every aspect of the young men that are in my program, then I'm not the man for the job. So we have to set goals, and yes, winning and losing is part of that goal, but that can't be the only thing we're talking about. That can't be the only way we measure success. The next one I think is more on the field. So what type of team do you want to be, and how do you want other teams to talk about your team? I think one of the best compliments you can get is from your opponents. Do they think your kids are disciplined? Do they think your kids are lazy? Do they think your kids work hard? Are they physical? Are they disciplined? Are they smart football players? All those things. So if you were able to go sit on the other team's sideline, what is that team saying about your players? I think before anyone takes a job as a head coach, you should have clear answers to those questions. And once you have clear answers to those questions, it's your job then to facilitate those answers to everybody. So if anybody is in your program is asked those questions, they should be able to answer them. So if it's not me sitting here as my defensive coordinator, he should be able to answer these questions. If it's my left guard, he should be able to answer these questions. If it's my quarterback, he should know what these goals are. What is our mentality going into a season, a game, and just overall the program. So for me personally, the first answer to those questions is when somebody in San Diego or somebody in Mexico or somebody who, wherever says the, modern day Catholic football, these are the things I want them to think about. These are the things I want them to know. One, academic success. We are a private Catholic school. Every single player on my team pays tuition. Nobody goes for free. I'm a product of Catholic school. My parents, my dad was a commercial tuna fisherman, very blue collar family. My parents sacrificed for me to get a private education. I'm very blessed and very proud of that. So I take the students' education at my school, the fact that our parents are paying tuition, I take that very seriously. And so for the first and foremost, nobody comes to Modern Day Catholic to play football. They're coming there to get a great education. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our students have academic success. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Number two, we are a Catholic school. So faith is built into everything we do. We talk about faith, family, and football. I know that's a saying, a kind of a cliche that a lot of people use. We use it at Modern Day as well, and I think it encapsulates what we try to do. One, we are Catholic. It's in everything we do. We pray. We do all that kind of stuff. The family aspect, I'll talk a little bit more later on. We are a program that is not for football players. It's for families. We are a family-based program, and I'll explain that in a little bit as well. And then obviously, guys, I'm a football junkie like you guys are. I'm on Zooms all day watching coaches, and I want to talk football every day. And I'm reading books and watching videos. There isn't a day that goes by. I mean, Christmas morning, I'm thinking about this game. So there isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about football. There's usually not an hour that goes by. So, but how do we do that, and how do we make that functionable for these young people? That's, I think, the important question. The next one for me, I want our program to be blue collar. I want a blue collar work ethic. I don't want to be a shiny program that everybody likes our jerseys or everybody that's nice. We have nice stuff. Don't get me wrong. We have pretty jerseys, but I want our players to be known as kids that work hard. I want to outwork the team down the street. They might have a nicer helmet, but it doesn't matter because we're going to go work harder. They might not have a nicer weight room. Doesn't matter. We're going to put more work in that weight room. So I'm a product of blue collar family. I want to be a blue collar type team. Okay. Number four, we want to be exciting. Kids want to play an exciting football. We are a spread RPO, throw it around. Everybody touches the ball. Fast tempo, all that kind of stuff. We want to be imaginative. We want to be fun, like Clemson and we want to be all that just like everybody else does. But then we want to play with passion, and I think we're a little bit more basic on defense. We are a very violent defense. We want to go straight forward, go get after you. It's not pretty. There's not too much tricky stuff defensively. Offensively, we are pretty creative. I like having fun that way. And then the last one, I think, is probably the most important out of everything, and that's family, right? For us, I know you guys have probably heard this before, but family for us is an acronym, and it stands for forget about me, I love you. So nowadays, and you guys know this coaching, this is probably the most selfish generation of young people that we've ever dealt with. Young people are changing, but more importantly, the parents are changing. And so I've found in my career, 19 years of coaching high school football, 18 years, it's harder and harder to get young people to sacrifice what they want for the good of the team. More and more, we're seeing kids that are just about themselves. I was just dealing with it about an hour ago. I got a dad whose son is 5'7", 155 pounds, and has okay grades, but his dad doesn't understand why he's not getting, college scholarship offers. That's a not having the right vision of and understanding of what's important to his son. So we're constantly fighting that with our players. More and more I see guys who we score a touchdown and they're not happy unless they're the ones who scored. But we have to, from the minute we get these young people, the minute we get them, I don't care if they're 14 years old, 16 years old, 18 years old, the minute they come in our program, we are going to start to deprogram them about I. We're going to start programming them about we, and that they have to put aside what they love for the good of the team. Sometimes that's a harder pill for them to swallow, but we're going to do that in a million different ways, and we're going to constantly love them through that process. I'm not a giant disciplinarian. I'm not kind of like the old school hard coach. I have kids that sometimes we're tough on, but for the most part, we love our kids up. Now, that doesn't mean it's fake love. That doesn't mean I sugarcoat things. I'm very honest with them. But we've kind of changed the way we talk to young people, and we show them a lot of love. We try to show them the right way to do things that way. When I first started coaching 18 years ago, you could jump a kid's ass. You could yell at a kid. Nowadays they're a little more sensitive to that. So we have to figure out ways to have conversations with them and love them into doing what we want them to do. I hope that's clear. So how do we do those things? So how do we say this isn't just talk, right? I'm not like if you come watch us, I'm not PJ Fleck. I'm not one of these like real inspirational guys. I'd love that. I wish I was, but I'm not one of these guys that has big posters in our room. We don't have sayings on the back of our shirts. We don't say things unless we're going to do them. We don't talk about things unless we're going to do things. So how do we do them? Well, here are the core values that we say are non-negotiable, right? If you're going to come to school at Modern Day Catholic and play football, these are non-negotiable things. One, you are going to be honest. We're going to be honest with you. You're going to be honest with me. Every human being says, I just want honesty. Most of us don't, right? We want to hear what we want to be the truth. But we have to give these young men honesty. And if we do that, they'll give it back to us. If I lie to my players, they're going to lie to me. If I'm honest with my players, there's a chance they're going to lie to me. There's a really good chance, but it's going to be harder for them. And we're going to be able to hold them more accountable to that honesty if we're honest with them at all times, even if it's rough, even if it's the conversation that's a little tough for them to have. That honesty is a non-negotiable. Number two, we're going to treat women with respect. And our campus, that means the fellow students, that means female teachers, that means our own family. Okay. It is really, really important for me, for our guys to be leaders on campus, right? It's very important for me, for our guys to be socially responsible. And I'll talk a little bit later on about what that means for us. But treating women with respect on and off the field. I think every single one of us can think of an NFL player, a college player, someone we knew who got in trouble by doing things the wrong way with women. Okay? No drugs, no stealing. Locker room is a sacred place. Now, every single one of these here, I've had problems with, right? I've had kids that have used drugs. I've had kids that stole things from locker rooms, things like that. So these are the non-negotiable things. And we give them to these young men the first day of camp. So they know they're going to be held accountable if they break these rules. Number 5, respect and care for my teammates. No I guys. Modern day Catholic, no I guys. No I don't care. I don't keep stats very closely. I'm not a guy who's putting stats in. I don't care. The only stat I care about is the final one, the final score. Guys come up to me all the time, Coach, how many tackles did I have? Don't care. Don't care about that stuff. No I guys. We want team guys. Represent my family at all times. And the last one for me is the biggest one that these young men need to learn at a young age. It's the hardest thing for 15 and 16-year-old boys to learn, is that we build others up. We don't tear others down. Okay. The easiest thing in the world to do is be a bully these days. Right. And we have no respect for that. We have no tolerance for that. Okay. Cowards do that. For us, we want to build people up. I want my guys to be the guys that sit with the kid at lunchtime that nobody else sits with. I want our guys to be the kid who says hello to the young lady in the morning who doesn't have any friends. I want our guys to be the guys who care about the last guy on the roster as much as they care about the star quarterback. Okay. It's really, really important for me. It takes me a lot to get really mad at our team. Bullying is like, it's just my trigger. I can't handle it. I was an English teacher for 11 years. And it was the only time I ever got really upset in a classroom is when I saw students bullying another student. I have no patience for it. I have no, I think it's cowardly. And so we have a very, very zero tolerance when it comes to that on our football team and our football program. Okay. But these core values are not something we just pretend to have. We live by them. That is the code. These are non-negotiable. These aren't things that they get to choose. Okay, I like number 1, 4, and 7. No, you're going to do them all. And that's the way we go about that thing. Okay. So for us, I told you guys before, I don't only measure our team's success with wins and losses. In the high school, in the NFL, I get it. Those guys are getting paid to either win or lose. In college, I think it's more important that they start thinking about the kind of men that they're building. However, if you want to be the head coach at Notre Dame, you better win. Now, if you want to be the head coach in modern day, I got to keep winning, or they're gonna, they would end up getting rid of me too. But we have to, as men and as leaders and as coaches, we have to measure success more than just wins and losses. Okay. If we only care about the final score, we are doing a disservice to this game. We're doing a disservice to these young men that we're influencing. Okay. I heard a great quote one time. This guy named Chris Thompson. He's the head coach at Mira Mesa High School here in San Diego. He's a very successful coach. He used to be the head coach of Benita Vista, a very successful guy. And he said that every year he starts by thinking, I will coach more kids who end up being coaches than I will end up in the NFL. So I'm very conscious of the coaches that I'm creating. And I love that quote. I love that idea that we are in charge of the next generation of coaches. So how do we want these men to be? We are creating the next generation of fathers, the next generation of lawyers and doctors and plumbers and whatever these young men are going to go on to be. We're a big influence on that. And these guys are all going to be husbands. They're all going to be fathers. They're all going to be coaches one day, whether it's football, little league, baseball, whatever it is. What kind of influence are we going to have on them? Okay. My college linebacker coach told me, when I told him I was going to start coaching, he told me, you're going to coach the way you were coached until you learn better. That's why I love clinics. That's why I love talking to guys like you. That's why I love being on here, because I like learning from other people. But these guys that we're coaching now, they're going to go on to be coaches and they're going to mimic us. So what kind of men are we creating? Okay, what kind of coaches are we creating? For me, we're going to have 3 things that we measure success on. Okay. We are going to do academic competitiveness. Okay. Academic competitiveness, athletic excellence, social responsibility. I need elite effort in those 3 categories of their life. okay? I need them to bust their ass in those 3 categories of their life. I need them to be as competitive academically as physically possible for them. I need them to be athletically excellent. They need to take care of their body. They need to practice hard. They need to get in the weight room. All the things it takes to be an athlete. And then I need them to have social responsibility. They need to be good men. If those guys give me elite, top effort in those 3 categories, the final score usually takes care of itself. But if we're outstanding on these 3 pillars, well, then we're going to have a successful year no matter what our record is. Okay. At the end, you see there, it says, you know, if you can't handle this DBT is kind of something that we say, if I don't know if Edgar Morales is on here, my coach, he's supposed to be on here, one of my assistant coaches, but Edgar could tell you what DBT means. And that's something we just say between us coaches. We never say it to the kids. We never say it outside of the coach's office. But DBT for us means don't bitch, transfer. So we don't want to hear kids complaining. If you don't like the way our programs run, transfer, go somewhere else. We're not going to change for you. You're going to change for us. So it's kind of like a little joke in our coach's office. We say, you know, if a kid's complaining or a parent's complaining, we say DBT, you know, you don't like it here, go away. But for us, if you don't like these 3 pillars of success, you can't give me elite effort on these 3 things, then DBT. It's time for you to not be a part of our program. Okay. Now, going back to what I said earlier, I'm not a big, you know, saying guy. I'm not a big, like, you know, putting things on posters or putting things on the back of our shirts. I'm an old English teacher. I'm about definitions. I like language. I want to say, what does that mean? So there's 100 of us in this room right now. If I said, everybody write down what commitment means, we'd have 100 different definitions, right? Everybody can take a word like commitment and say, well, I think commitment means this, or I think commitment means that. So that's fine. I'm going to define commitment for our players. So I don't really care I don't care what my sophomore quarterback thinks is commitment. We're going to define that for him. So what does that mean for Modern Day Catholic? That means 100% attendance, weight room, practice, games, meetings, study hall. That means you are in attendance. Okay. This is not a hope. This is a requirement. You want to be a part of this program, you're going to show up. You're going to show up on time and you're going to do that thing. You're going to work as hard as you can in the classroom and on the football field. Okay. Now we're going to talk about that in a little bit about classroom working hard and that stuff. We're going to hold ourselves and our teammates accountable. Okay. I think one of the best, I know when I have a great football team is when I talk less and they talk more. So if we have a group of young men who are holding themselves accountable and they're the voice and I don't have to be the voice, then I know things are going to be good. If the seniors are making sure the locker room's clean after practice or after games, and I don't have to go in there and say, hey, pick all this up, I have a feeling that's going to translate to us being good on the football field. If we have a healthy leadership, healthy locker room, healthy commitment level, it usually translates into us having success. And now commit to competing. Okay. This is a lost art for our young people. Whether it's, if you see college football, how many people are transferring. We have a quitting problem in high school football in San Diego. Kids quit, kids transfer. I'm not starting. I'm going to transfer to this school. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do this. We ask our guys to compete at all times, compete in everything they do, right? I tell these guys, you know, we want to be fast. You should eat your Cheerios fast. You do everything fast. Brush your teeth fast. Okay. Drive to school fast. Don't drive too fast, but do everything fast. I mean, if you want to be competitive, if you want to be an athlete, compete in everything. You know, see who can get to practice first. See who can catch more punts during practice. Who can make more tackles. Why aren't you competing? You say you want to be an athlete, but you don't like competition. That's a problem for me, right? You should compete against the guy next to you at all times. And if you make a commitment to that, well, then you're not only making yourself better, you're going to make your teammates better. And then when it comes to opponents, that stuff's easy then. Now, for us, It's not a football program with coaches and players. It's a program for everybody, and that includes the parents. So for me, I define, and I don't know how much parent involvement you guys have in your program, or if you have parent meetings or whatever it is, but the worst part of my job is dealing with parents. The absolute worst part of being a head coach is parents. Okay, pretty soon I'm going to retire from modern day, and I'm going to go work in an orphanage coaching football, so I don't have to deal with these people. They're all crazy, right? So, and when I have a 9-year-old daughter, so I don't have to worry about it, and she likes music and acting, so I don't have to be like that crazy dad in the crowd. But for me, first meeting of the season, I'm going to define commitment to my players, and I'm going to define commitment to my parents. And these are non-negotiable the same way. Okay. And these parents are going to get the same DBT. You don't like my program. Sorry. Right. There's somebody else that'll like it. Okay. So support your son. Football is a big commitment. They need your support. We ask our parents to drive our kids all over campus. We ask them to be there at 6 a.m. workouts. We ask them to feed them, have them ready, buy their spirit packs, have cleats. We don't provide everything. We provide a lot for our guys, but to play football at Modern Day Catholic costs a little bit of money. You have to drive around. You're a chauffeur. You're an ATM machine. You're an Uber driver. But if your son is passionate about this, be there to support that passion. Encourage your son to fully commit, right? And don't give your son an out. Too many times now we have parents that are giving our young people an out. When I would go home, I would go to my mom. She'd say, "Why do you have a bad grade in math?" And I say, "The math teacher doesn't like me." My mom would say, "What did you do?" Nowadays, a kid says, "Mom, the math teacher doesn't like me." And the mom goes, "You're right. Let's go. Let's get him. Let's go call the principal." We have to have our parents understand that football's hard. There's going to be days where your son's exhausted. There's going to be days where your son has a bad day. There's going to be days where your son gets chewed out by a coach. You have to teach your son to have a thicker skin, commit to football, commit to the team, and he'll get past that bad day, right? The benefits include learning to be a committed person in everything that we try to accomplish. If you let your son quit in math, you let your son quit basketball, you let your son quit karate, sooner or later, they're going to start quitting more and more stuff. Quitting is a cancer. You got to cut that stuff out of your body, right? I had to build a pantry the other day. My girlfriend wanted me to build a pantry. I'm terrible. I couldn't quit. I wanted to quit, but I couldn't quit. I had to get the pantry made. God, we have to learn to kind of grind through things. These young people need to learn that. They're going to be better men later on for that. Okay? I want our parents to be a proud fan, cheer loud at games. I want them to go support their kids. It means a lot. It means a lot to the kids. I want parent involvement. I want our parents to sacrifice. I want them to come. I want them to do team dinners. I want our parents to be there, to be a part of the program as much as possible. And then we don't deal with playing time issues. Okay. I do not talk to parents about playing time. I also do not meet with parents without their son in the room. Okay. One of the best things I did was about 7 years ago. I told the parents I will not meet with them without their son in the room. Okay. This was one of the best things our program ever did. So now mom and dad are in the room with little Johnny, right? And now whatever the mom and dad are complaining about, I can turn to little Johnny and say, well, what about this or what about that? When that young person's in the room, all of a sudden the truth comes out. Lots of times these guys will go home and their dad's living through their son. Why aren't you starting? Why aren't you getting the ball more? Why aren't you doing this? And then I turn to little Johnny and I say, hey, how come you weren't at practice on Tuesday? And the dad looks like his eyes get this big and the dad says, you weren't at practice? And yeah, exactly, right? So I won't meet with the parents without the boy in the room. That has been a huge game changer for us, okay? Huge game changer. So one of the main things that I think is probably, top of the list of important things from assistant coaches now is that you have to have complete buy-in, okay? Once we've set all those things we just set, all the vision that I have for the program, our pillars of success, all the things that we set, our core values, I need to find assistant coaches that believe that and are going to help me facilitate that. Okay. You could find the greatest coach in the world, played in the NFL, smartest guy in the world, read every book, but he doesn't believe in your vision. He doesn't help your staff. Okay. He doesn't help your staff. You can find guys that know football and can coach football, but you need to find guys that believe in you, that want to help you facilitate the vision that you have. Okay. Assistant coaches. I don't know how many guys on here are head coaches or assistant coaches. You assistant coaches, you need to get on board with your head coach or you need to leave. And I know that's kind of a hard thing to say, kind of a blunt thing, but you don't have to be there. My assistant coaches, I'm not forcing them to be there. If they don't believe in the program, I would prefer they leave. And I'll find people that do believe in it. Either you have to get on board with what the head coach likes, or you can't be a part of it. Okay. And I think that's a really good thing for head coaches to evaluate, but that's a really good thing for assistant coaches to evaluate. I was lucky. I worked with two unbelievable men. I believed in both those guys. So it was really easy for me to be an assistant coach. I'm kind of I might not be the easiest guy in the world to work for. I think I'm a nice guy. My mom says I'm nice, but some assistant coaches might not like my style. That's their decision. And I respect that more than I respect them staying on the coaching staff, but not being happy or undermining or not doing, the things I asked them to do. Okay. And the last one is something that I say all the time. I say this to players. I say this to assistant coaches. I say this to my daughter. Fair does not mean equal. Okay. Fair does not mean equal. Everybody involved in your program has a role. Okay. Every single person has to understand their role and embrace it. So if you have 4 running backs, they're not going to all get the ball the same amount of time. But you can still be fair to all of them. You can treat them all the same. You can coach them all the same. You can give them the same opportunities. But that doesn't mean we're going to be equal. I'm going to give the ball to the star. He's going to score the touchdowns, right? I'm going to give it to the one who can score for me. But I can be fair to everybody. Okay, so fair does not mean equal. I think that's a really good, one that I kind of use with parents a lot too. Head coaches. Okay, I really recommend putting together some sort of coaching manual for your staff. I don't have one on me. It's in the office, or I would have it with me today, but our school's quarantined. I'm not allowed to go in my office and get it, so I apologize for not having it with me. But if you send me an email, I can send you a copy of our coaching manual. For me, I'll show you some clips or some things out of our coaching manual, but I'm a diehard Mike Leach fan. I'm a diehard Mike. I read every book he writes. I love Mike Leach. And he said, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. So for us, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to be respectful. I'm going to be patient with my assistant coaches, but I'm very stubborn about what I'm asking you to do. Okay. And on my staff, I'm going to give them a list of about 8 to 10 duties. Don't come talk to me about another duty until you've done those 8. If you're the best quarterback coach in the country and you've done all the breakdowns and you've ODK'd all the film and you've done all these things, then come talk to me about the plays that you drew up in your basement. Don't talk to me about that stuff until you've done what I've asked you to do. So I'm very open-minded, but I'm also kind of Portuguese, man. I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn guy. So it's kind of that, when you're a head coach, you're kind of balancing a lot of times. You're balancing personalities a lot. Okay. Now, the last one, and this one I had to learn the hard way. Okay. I didn't do this when I was a young coach. I'm getting better at it now, I think, is that I explain my decisions. Before, when I first became a head coach, I just said, we're going to do it this way because I said so. That's not respectful. That's not respecting the men on my staff. These coaches are sacrificing time. They're working hard for me. They deserve an explanation. So, for example, if my special teams coordinator comes to me and says, I want to start pooching. We're not getting it in the end zone. We're bad kickoff coverage. I want to start pooching, or I want to start directional kicking or something like that. If I go home, break down the film, come back and go, no, you know what? I still want to kick deep middle. I still want to, whatever. I need to give him a reason. he deserves, he came to me as a man, I'm going to come back to him as a man and give him explain my decisions. We might disagree, and in the end, we're going to do what I want to do. But if that coach comes to me respectfully, I'm going to go back to him respectfully. And that's something that I'll be honest with you guys, I probably was pretty shitty at when I was a young coach, that I'm trying to get better at. And so if Edgar's on here, he's probably shaking his head right now, but don't pay attention. Okay. Big one for me is how to hire a staff. It's one of the more difficult parts of my job. I think it's becoming more and more difficult to find assistant coaches. Maybe I'm becoming more and more picky. One thing I can say about my time at Mater Dei Catholic is we've had very little turnover. I'm very proud of that. I had the same defense coordinator for 9 years. The guy who took over for him was with me for 7 years. My defensive line coach has been with me 11 years, running back coach 11 years. Edgar's been with me for 8 years, I think 7 or 8. Most of my coaches have been with me a long time. That's because we like each other. We have a good time. We're respectful. We have good kids. We go drink beer once in a while, laugh, have a good time, laugh. You know, we care about each other outside of football. We know each other's kids and wives and families. So that's really important to me. I ask myself all the time when I'm meeting assistant coaches is, would I want this guy around my own kid? Would I want these guys to babysit my daughter? Would I want these guys around my mom, my dad, my girlfriend, whoever? That's important to me. Do you have a criteria for hiring assistant coaches? If you don't have one, you need to create one immediately. Okay, create a criteria. Now, if your criteria is 10 things, maybe the assistant coach only meets 7 or 8 of them, but you know that that's a pretty qualified person. If they only meet 3 things out of 10, then that's not the guy for you, right? And then I personally believe in hiring guys that are different than you. Okay. If you have a staff and you guys all think the same, what's the point? How are you going to get better? I had the same defensive coordinator for 9 years. He retired from coaching, but he's a great guy, great man, a good friend of mine. He and I could not be more opposite of the way we see football. Okay. I'm a wide open, throw it, trick play, fake punt, onside. I want to go 1,000,000 miles an hour, fun. And he is by the book, X's and O's, discipline, right? He sees the game one way. I see the game a different way. We made each other better because I learned so much from him. There's probably hasn't been a guy that I've learned more in my career from, and we are complete opposites. I can go hire a bunch of guys that think like me, but then they're never going to challenge me. They're never going to push me. They're not going to make me think differently. They're not going to show me something different. I don't want anyone to be a yes man. I want assistant coaches to be pushing themselves, reading books. My defensive line coach and I, we send each other. He just texted me yesterday with a book. I sent him what book I'm reading. Edgar just sent 2 wide receiver videos to our freshman offense coordinator and our other receiver coach. We're always passing messages, sending each other articles, doing those things. We're always pushing each other professionally to be better and better. So for me, find a healthy balance of disagreement, okay? And then get on the whiteboard and see who's right. You know, get on the whiteboard and start Xing and Oing and figuring out who's right. That, to me, that's the way to do it, okay? So for me, the main criteria when I want to hire a coach is, are they a teacher? Now, I don't mean like in the classroom. I don't mean like, are you a math teacher? I mean, can you teach the kids? Okay. I've worked with 4 guys that played in the NFL. 3 of them are some of the best coaches I've ever been around. One guy who was probably the best player out of all of them was one of the worst high school coaches I've ever been around. Because it didn't matter how much he knew, he had no ability to make sure the kids knew that. So he knew more football than I'll ever learn, but he couldn't get our guys to understand it. He couldn't teach it. So for me, I want I don't want coaches that want finished products. We get 14, 15-year-old kids that have never put a helmet on. You got to teach them everything, right? You can't say, hey, go on top of the numbers and run a slant. Number one, they don't know what on top of the numbers is. Number two, they don't know what a slant is. I need guys that are going to teach football, every aspect of it. So that's a big one for me. I don't care how much football you know. I don't care how smart you are. Can you teach it to kids? Can you get these young men to understand what you know? We're a Catholic school, okay? That doesn't mean you have to be Catholic to coach for us. In fact, some of my coaches aren't Catholic, but you need to have strong morals, okay? We hold ourselves to a pretty high standard. Our school has a pretty high standard, and so we don't want to bring in anybody who's going to tarnish the brand, right? I say all the time, we have to protect the MD, right? I tell our guys all the time, protect the MD. If you go to the mall and you're acting like a clown and you're wearing a modern day football sweatshirt and I find out, I'm gonna take that sweatshirt from you. So protect the MD, protect the brand. Our coaches are the same thing. Healthy relationship with student athletes, okay? I don't want guys dog cussing kids. I don't want guys using foul, you know, I mean, if you drop a foul, you know, we all cuss once in a while, whatever it is, that's fine. But if you're berating a kid, if you're abusing a kid verbally, there's no place for you. I can't have you around. I can't have you around these kids. I want them to have a relationship with them off the field. I want them to have a personal relationship with these kids, but it needs to be healthy too, right? It can't cross lines. It shouldn't get into their personal lives. I don't want them going over their houses too much, or, you know, you don't need to know who their girlfriends are all the time. You know, let them be kids. We're the coaches. You got to have a balance and a healthy relationship with these kids, okay? And the last thing is, I want ball coaches. I want guys that are, we coach ball. That's what we do. I don't want an ego. I don't care how many youth championships you won. I don't care how good of a player you were. I don't care, you know, I don't care where you came from. You could have came from the biggest school in San Diego or the smallest school in San Diego. Can you come here? Can you fit in this locker room? Can you be a part of our coaching staff? And can you come here and love the kids? Do you need your name in the paper? You need me to hug you and tell you you're great? Or can you just come coach ball? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Okay? For me, I want to try to make it as clear as possible what I want my assistant coaches to do. Okay, I give them down to when they watch film, what are they looking for? I give them to who's in charge of the ball bag, who's in charge of the headsets, who's in charge of the huddle sideline iPads, who's in charge of all that. We went to the CIF championship game, okay? I learned my lesson. We're in the CIF championship, last game of the season, CIF championship, biggest game of the year. We get off the bus and we're coming out of the locker room, and no assistant coach will look me in the face. I'm going, what the hell's wrong? These guys forgot the ball bag. We were about to warm up for the championship game. We didn't have a ball. So from then on, I started assigning every little thing. You're in charge of the balls. You're in charge of water. You're in charge of this. You're in charge of that. The second thing is it helps me in my evaluation of the staff. At the end of the year, I'm going to evaluate every assistant coach that I have. I'm also going to evaluate myself. I did a lot of self-evaluation after this last season. But knowing that I've been clear in my expectations for them helps me evaluate whether or not they're living up to that expectation. Okay. I can't hold somebody accountable to something I didn't tell them they were responsible for. Okay. So I can't go to my wide receiver coach and say, you know, we left the ball bag back at school. I can't believe you did that. If I didn't tell him he was responsible for the ball bag. Okay. And that goes into every detail of our breakdowns. Okay. You know, our defense coordinator has to send me his game plan by 5 o'clock on Sunday. If it's 5:01, he's getting a dirty text message. He's getting a, hey, not very nice word. Where is my scouting report? But if he starts doing that every week, well, then I'm going to say, hey, man, is there a problem? How come you can't get this to me on time? If I didn't give him a time and he starts sending it to me at 8 o'clock, well, then how am I holding him accountable to that? He's going to say, you didn't tell me to give it to you at 6. I gave it to you at 8. What's the difference? So I try to break down to each coach exactly what I expect from them. Okay. And then we have a saying we use all the time, CYOP. Okay. I should be able to go to your practice and tell exactly who coaches what position. You should be able to come to my practice and after 10 minutes go, that's the running back coach, that's the secondary coach, that's the linebacker coach. Okay? Because I don't want anyone talking to a position they don't coach. The running back coach does not talk to the offensive line. Maybe after practice, he goes, hey guys, how you doing? Or hey man, how's your math grade? But during practice, during the game, the running back coach does not talk to the offensive lineman. That's the offensive line coach's job. The linebacker coach does not talk to the D lineman. That's the defensive lineman. I tell guys all the time, if I wanted you to talk to the defensive line, I would have hired you to coach D line. I didn't. Do your job, CYOP. That's a good way to start having hurt feelings on your staff, okay? If I'm the running back coach and the offensive line coach keeps barking at the running backs, well, then sooner or later, that running back coach is going to start getting pissed off at the offensive line coach, and you're going to start having bickering. So everybody coaches their own position, okay? I coach the quarterbacks. The dumbest thing in the world to do is talk to our quarterbacks because I will jump your ass, right? A wide receiver coach says something to the quarterback coach. Says something to the quarterback, I'm going to light him up, right? So for me, CYOP is a very important thing. I go to a lot of youth practices. They have 8 coaches and they're all coaching every kid on the team. That doesn't make any sense to me, right? My daughter played softball. She was 7. There was 10 girls on the team and 10 coaches. I think there was 9 coaches. I was the only dad that didn't coach, right? So a ground ball would go to the third baseman and she would miss it, right? These 7-year-old girls. And then 9 grown men would tell the little girl the same thing, right? It's parrot coaching, right? Like they all mimic each other. Put your glove down, put your glove down, put your glove down, she heard it. She doesn't need it said 9 times, right? That same thing for us on our staff. Let the wide receiver coach wide receivers. Let the offensive line coach offensive lines, CYOP. I don't want anybody repeating things. I don't want things said more than once, okay? This kind of comes out of our staff philosophy. This comes out of our manual. Like I said, if you send me an email, I could share our full manual with you guys. But if you look over our staff philosophy, it's simple, right? As a staff, we understand not only how we do things, but why we do things. We must continue to believe in every person in the program has value. It's important and is showing respect. Everyone should do your job as well as possible, but willing to help out in areas of asked. I like the 4th bullet point. It says, your families are important and they are welcome to be a part of our program when they have time. Choose to involve them as much as you prefer and know they are always a priority to our coaches. My daughter comes to practice a lot. I have assistant coaches whose kids are our ball boys, our sons are our ball boys, our water boys. Wives come to team dinner. We have, after the games, we go and have a drink, the wives come or whatever it is. For me, it's about having your family around. Our best wide receiver who currently has 7 offers, he's got offers from Army, Navy, Air Force, New Mexico. His dad is our running back coach. He's been around our program since he was 8 years old, 9 years old. Now he's going to go into his senior year. He's been part of our program for 10 years, which is awesome. His older brother played for us. And so a lot of times we have little brothers around, coaches' sons and everything like that. Edgar's son is our water boy, and it's awesome. It's really, really an awesome thing. And I think that helps for a really, a good coaching staff environment. Set rules and guidelines. I set rules and guidelines for my players. I'm dang sure going to set rules and guidelines for my assistant coaches. I'm a big person who believes in being prompt, so show up on time. Now, most of my assistant coaches are off-campus coaches. They have lives. They have children. I want them to, take care of that, whatever they got going on before. If Edgar's stuck at work or one of his daughters has a school players, just send me a text. No big deal. We'll get it going. We'll get it covered. But, if just like any other job, no call, no show, you're getting fired, right? So tell me if you need, if you're going to be a little bit late, I'm stuck in traffic, no problem. I never get on my guys about that. Just let me know, okay? Always come to meetings prepared. They need a paper and pen to come to meetings with. No flip-flops. That's $1. I find guys, that's $1 if you wear flip-flops to practice. It's also $1 if you wear cleats. I don't like, it makes me laugh when coaches wear cleats. And everyone needs a whistle. So if a coach doesn't have a whistle, he gets fined $1. We dress appropriately, khaki pants, all that good stuff. We tuck in our shirts. It's sad now, but we do have to monitor social media. And I yelled at a coach a couple nights ago for, using an inappropriate word on Twitter. Words that I wouldn't let our players use, so he doesn't get to use it. He's a grown man. He's 36 years old. He shouldn't be posting that stuff on social media. So represent, protect the brand on social media. You coach in modern day, even if your Twitter or your Instagram is your own private thing, you need to be, if you want to be part of our program, you need to keep it, make sure it's appropriate. Okay. Number 6 is important. Stay away from parents. Parents are not our friends. Okay. Parents use assistant coaches to me all the time. Okay. I'll pick on Edgar. He's on here. After the game, a parent comes up to Coach Edgar and says, "Hey, how come my son isn't playing more?" Even if Coach Edgar goes, yeah, I know he's trying, we're trying to get him in there. We're trying to get him in there, and walks away. That parent comes up to me and goes, even Coach Edgar thinks that my son should be playing more. Right. And I know Edgar didn't do that, but that's how they try to use it. Right. So we tell our parents we tell our assistant coaches, stay away from parents. If a parent comes up to you, you say, go talk to Coach Joyner. I have to take the brunt of that. Okay. Number 7 is what you guys are all doing today. And this is what I ask our assistant coaches to do all the time, is be an expert. Okay. Let's work on this craft. You have to love football. Okay. Learn it every aspect. Read, watch, listen. I'm a huge clinic guy. I love the fact that you guys are all on here doing this weekend. I think it's awesome. And so for my assistant coaches, we're doing the same thing. I want to know what books you're reading. I want to know what videos you're watching. I want to know what position you're studying, etc. Okay. Number 8 might be as important as anything else. It's protect our office and our staff. What happens in our office stays in our office. Okay. No office lawyers, man. No coaching staff lawyers. When you guys go to the bar and one guy goes to the bathroom and the guy whispers to the other guy, "Can you believe what he did?" No, man. Save that little girly stuff for a different day. We can't have that stuff on our staff. We have to protect each other. Okay. Protect the program, be loyal to the rest of the staff. If you can't do that, you can't coach. Okay. If there's a problem and you're one of those guys that's a talker, let's go in the office. We can talk it out. We can yell at each other. We can scream, but we're going to go have a beer afterwards. We're going to yell at each other all we want, but we're not going to go home pissed off at each other. Okay. Let's get it all out. Let's go have a beer. Everyone take a deep breath, and then let's go back to work. Right. What are we there for? We're there for the boys. Okay. Professional effort at all times. And that just goes without saying. Again, I could send you guys all this information a little bit more. Okay. How do we measure success? Academic. What type of young men are we creating? What type of future coaches are we creating? What type of discipline standards do we have on our team? Okay. If you don't have a 12-month calendar, I think you should create one. If you're in charge of a program, if you're a head coach or you're in charge of a program in any way, you should have some sort of 12-month calendar. Now, I stole one. I didn't create a 12-month calendar. I stole one I found off of some coaching website, but then I manipulated it that works best for us. Okay. And so every month I have tasks that I need to check off. Okay. Now, the best, in my opinion, way to do this is look at the tasks that you can ask for help on. Which tasks can your assistant coaches do? So for example, my linebacker coach, he sets all of our 7-on-7 games. I don't want to send emails and find it. He's in charge of the summer calendar. We have a strength coach in charge of the workouts. I want I have my seniors pick their spirit pack and what's going to be in the team store. So I have all these tasks that I have to do that looks like this, right? This is January, February. But what are these things that I can have other people help me do, right? So what can I check off myself personally, but then what can I get other people to check off for me? Okay. Now, this isn't our calendar. This is the one I stole because the one I have is in my office, but I can send you our calendar if you guys want it, or I can send you this one too. This one is I have this saved on Twitter somewhere. I can find it, but this is just kind of month to month do in terms of a program? What do you need to do to get it all done? When do you order footballs? When do you recondition your helmets? When do you, schedule games, and all that kind of stuff? Okay. And that's for internal use only. So our 12-month calendar is just for my eyes only. I have calendars that I give to my assistant coaches, I give to the parents, I give to the players, but the 12-month calendar is for me. I'm the only one that needs to look at the 12-month calendar. Okay? Now, for us, this goes into more like offensively and defensively. I'm a big install calendar kind of person. Okay, so in California, we get 15 spring practices. Okay. So if I'm going to call the offense, I'm going to run the offense. I'm going to say in those 15 practices, what can we realistically get in? And if this was from 2019, if you see what are the formations that we're going to, after 15 practices, we need to know these formations. This is our 1-step passing game, our 3-step passing game, our 5-step passing game. Which ones are we going to know we got to put in? Our run game. These are going to be the main runs that we use. Okay. Here's the ones this year. We have this style of team. This is what we're going to run. Pass protections. These are the red zone plays. And then our RPO package, our routes for our running back, and our motions. I give this to every player, and I give this to every offensive coach. Now, we're going to have a more detailed when we're installing this, but I basically give this to every single coach and say, by the end of spring ball, this is what you're responsible for. Okay. Now, when we go into fall camp, we'll have a brand new one because we know all this now, right? We've mastered this. I'm going to come up with a different plan for those dates. But in the meantime, when we go into spring practice, here's exactly what, there's no surprises. This is what you're responsible for. And now at the end of spring practice, if your guys don't know these plays, we need to have a conversation. Well, why not? Right? This is kind of what a typical day looks like for us. I don't know why I just threw this in here because this looks like a kind of a typical practice schedule for us in terms of what we're doing, how we get into it. This is like a Wednesday for us. We start with no huddle with different tempos. Follow and turbo is our tempo. On Wednesdays, we do 3rd down runs or heavy runs or red zone runs. And then we go into field goal 7-on-7 with 3rd downs. So the way we break down a day, so this is like a typical call sheet for us. We'll go 1st and 10, 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 3rd and long, 3rd and short with maybe a little bit of like red zone stuff. Our goal line and 2-point plays. I have a weird theory about 2-point plays. I don't know if you guys care or not, but it doesn't really pertain to what I'm talking about. But we have the same 3 2-point plays no matter what. Depends on how often you go for 2 points. We don't go for 2 points very much. But if no matter what game, if it's game 1 or game 10, if we're going to go for 2, it's about a 90% chance it's going to be some sort of spread Hong Kong dart right. It's just a play we have. It's a rub route. It's a great goal line route. I want our quarterback to know that. I want our running backs to know that. I want our offensive. I want our coaches to know that, so that if there's 2 seconds left in the game and the game's on the line, they know they're confident. We're going to run Hong Kong dart right. It's just in their mind. I don't know. That's my theory on that. But, that's kind of weird. We have our tempo stuff. We have any kind. I put down here notes. I put a lot of things to myself. I'll write things down there, special plays we want, and everything like that. Now, this is a game call sheet, but this is also a practice sheet. So for us, we practice Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. Okay. Monday is 1st down. So all the coaches have this sheet. We're going to go, when we go to team run, we're going to go in order here. So we have it already scripted out. And then I got a red pen and I'm scratching things out and I'm rewriting them and stuff like that. Tuesday's 2nd down. So now we go do all the 2nd down runs on Tuesday. Wednesday's 3rd down and special plays, Hail Mary, trick plays, everything like that. So I use this sheet as kind of a way in which we can organize practice as well. Okay. Then after Wednesday, Thursday's our walkthrough day. the sheet is complete. On Thursday, there's no changes to the sheet. At Wednesday night, I make the final changes, then we're done. Thursday, we are not changing anything. We're coming out Thursday. We're going on the field and we're going to walk through, about 75% speed. We're going to go through all of these things. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. I saw somebody did like raising their hand. Did they have a question or something? It said somebody like.
No, that's okay, Coach. I'm just saying that to all of the people here in the chat that we are gonna let. We're gonna have the questions at the end. So
Okay,
don't worry, just go.
Okay. And then I don't know. I think I'm kind of I'm towards the end here, but the last thing when it comes to coaches, just my last message to you guys is what is our real job at the end of the day? Yeah, it's to win games. Everyone on here wants to win. I hear you, man. I like winning, but we are here to make lasting impressions on young people's lives. Okay. My father was, like I said before, my father was a commercial tuna fisherman. He was gone most of my life. My coaches were some of my biggest influences in my life. And so I think about that all the time. Okay. Have fun. If you don't like the guys you're coaching with, change teams, change schools, because you have to love each other a little bit. You got to like each other a little bit. I think that's an important part of the game. And if you guys don't like each other, the players are going to be the first ones to figure that part out. And then, for us, we got to protect the game of football. We all love football, and football's under attack. Okay, whether it's concussions or the news or the media or whatever it is, coach smart, coach safe, coach hard, love the game. And like I said, I appreciate. I'm very grateful to be invited. And again, thank you very much. And if you guys have questions or something, we can kind of go that route now.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. We now open the session for the questions for the coach. And I would like to start by asking you about, well, you were saying that there's a lot of reading and literature that you like. Probably you can share some names of authors, name of books that you can recommend for us.
Yeah, I read, for you offensive guys, I read Bruce Arians' book. He's the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. I read his book recently. It was awesome about quarterback coaching. Swing Your Sword by Mike Leach might be my favorite football book ever. I just read a great book. Oh, hold on, let me grab it. I have about 10 more pages to go, but I'm reading this. It's about the New Zealand All Blacks. It's about the rugby team, the All Blacks, about leadership and stuff. It's one of the best books I've read. It's outstanding. So yeah, books like that, anything that's got football in it, I'm gonna read it.
That's very nice. Just before I keep going with this, I would like to introduce Edgar Morales. Edgar Morales is the contact that we have here in Mexico with Mater Dei, and he has been actually the one that has connected us with you, Coach, and we appreciate Edgar Morales to have you here. And also he has been translating a little bit of the concept that you have sharing with us.
Yeah,
now,
and
Coach,
I have a lot of stories on Edgar if you guys want them. I got a lot of stories about that guy.
We will be sure to listen one of those on one time. I want to ask you, Coach, personally. You were mentioning at the beginning of the session that it is very hard for someone to, when you started as a head coach, and you said that you weren't actually ready. And can I ask you, do you know when is a coach ready for being a head coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when you become a head coach, you have an idea of what you think that is. When I was an assistant coach, even when I was a coordinator, I thought I knew what a head coach's job was. I'm not sure until you get into that position, you really know if you're ready or not. For me, I was a little young, and our school was only 2 years old, and our program had nothing. We didn't have a strength program. We didn't have academic support program. So I was not only young and inexperienced, but then I had to build all these things. And so my biggest thing is if my only advice to guys who want to be head coaches is be selective in when you become a head coach. So don't take a job unless you know that that job is set up to be supportive of what your vision is. Okay. So for me, I want to have a principal and a president of a school that support athletics. I want an athletic director that supports me. And then I want to be able to have a certain amount of, whether it's money or whatever it is, support to build a program the way I need it built. So maybe just be selective on the job you take.
Nice, thank you so much, Coach. Here, there's like a question. Sometimes we have some kids that are that they have no enough confidence in themselves. How do you motivate them to keep on?
Yeah, so that's an outstanding question. You know, for me, it's always trying to find little victories for them, right? So you know when you coach players quickly who they are. Some guys need like love, and some guys need discipline. Some guys you can be tough on. Some guys you need to be gentle with. We have a really great quarterback in modern day, and his recruitment he doesn't have as many offers as he thought. And I know he's really struggling right now. And I was watching the NFL draft, and Jordan Love from Utah State goes in the first round to the Packers, and he only had one scholarship offer out of, high school. So I just text Trevor and I said, "Hey Trevor, Jordan Love had one offer and he made it first round pick." And he wrote, "Thanks, coach." Sometimes it's just little things we can do to keep them interested, to keep them learning, to have little tiny successes that can build and build and build their confidence.
Right. Okay. I'm a little bit curious about this. You were coming here to Mexico 7 years ago. What is the experience that you have, that you had coming with us with some Mexican coaches? What is something that you can tell about? What did you
Yeah, so
see
we
here?
did. Edgar's already shaking his head. The biggest lesson I learned about doing the coaching clinic in Ensenada was to have the clinic the first day and then the fiesta the second day, and not reverse those, because I had a little bit too much the night before, so I was hurting a little. No, but we had a great time. I've had ex-players of mine that coach different places, Wabase and Monterrey and different places like that. And so I know how good the football is in Mexico, and I love how much the game's growing. Even last year, our scrimmage, it wasn't a game that counted, but we played Instituto Mexico, which is a Catholic school in Tijuana, and they're really good, and their coaches played at Marian Catholic, which is a Catholic school that Modern Day is built on. So it's a lot of fun. It's great to see the game growing, and I know how good of football is across the border. It's pretty awesome to see.
That's good. Here, I know it's you like list and you like to measure. You have metrics for a lot of things. So people here is also asking about how do you grade, how do you measure the three pillars that are fundamental in your team.
So can you say that one more time?
How do you measure the pillars, the three
Okay.
pillars?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great question. So for us, the first one, academic competitiveness. So not every guy is born and he's going to run a 4.4 40, right? Not everyone's going to be fast. Not everyone's going to be 6'5". But we ask our players to be the best player they can be. And the same thing in the classroom. Not every one of my students is going to be a straight A student, and I understand that. But I'm asking them to be as competitive in the classroom as they can be. So if you try your hardest and you're doing all your homework and you're studying and you're going to tutoring and you got a B+ or you get a B-, I'm going to celebrate that B- just like I would an A, because that is you giving an amazing effort, right? That's you giving the best effort you can. Just like you might run a 4.840, but if you're trying as hard as you can and training and going in the weight room, I'm going to celebrate that like I would a guy who runs a 4.4, because that's the best you can do. That you're giving it the most effort possible. Now, we talk about being athletically competitive and having athletic excellence. Same thing. Do you come every day to work? Do you come to practice every day? Those are the ways we measure that. Do you work as hard as you can? Are you competitive? Are you a guy that quits? Are you a guy that makes excuses? Those things. And then the last one to me, which is probably the most important for our young people, is social responsibility. So over 70, I think this year is about 76% of our football players play more than one sport. Okay. In San Diego, nobody has numbers like that. Okay. The majority of our kids do more than one thing. I don't want our guys just being football players. I want them to wrestle. I want them to play basketball. I want them to run track. And then we're going to push them to do even more things. I have football players that are council members. I have football players that sing in the choir. I have football players that are on student government. We're going to push our guys to be leaders on campus, to be socially responsible. They're going to do a service project where we do something good for the community. We're going to do stuff that make them think outside of just football. If the only thing I ever do is talk to them about football, well, then I'm not teaching them anything.
Thanks, Coach. That clarifies. There are many situations when everything is going just fine. The results are getting, you have the results that you want, but keeping the faith and the optimistic is good. What happens when it doesn't? When you don't have the results that you want? When it is harder? What is the position that you have?
So first thing is to look at myself, and that's something I had to learn. Right. So if things are not going the way we want them to go, we're not playing well or whatever it is, I have to look at myself first. And when as a young coach, I didn't do that. As a young coach, I'd say, oh, our offensive line sucks, or our wide receivers can't catch, or our quarterback. Now I have to look at myself and say, and I've learned to do this and say, okay, so what's not working and why? And then we have to look at the way we practice. How are we talking to these guys? Are we asking them to do things that they're not capable of doing? Should we simplify it? Should we change something? Okay. I'm not a big believer in changing during the season. Okay. Because I think you're just kind of masking a problem. For me, it's more, sometimes it's about simplifying things. Okay. If we're struggling on offense, we can't, we're not running the ball well. Well, instead of running 10 different run concepts, maybe we should only run 5, but we should get really good at those 5. So I think for me, when things are going bad, it's really easy to point the finger. It's better if I start looking at myself first and then try to figure out, okay, well, what can we do better?
Simplifying. Okay. What is the best thing about being a coach? Probably what is not the best thing about being a coach?
The best thing about being a coach is when you have that player you were just talking about, the one who doesn't have confidence, or the one who's new to the game, or the one who's having a hard time at home, or the one who needs the most love, and then you get to see them. You told them what to do, they listened to you, and they intercepted the ball to win the game, or they scored the touchdown, and the look on their face. That's, to me, man, when that happens, goosebumps. There's no better feeling in the world. The worst part of coaching, dealing with parents right now. Our parents are a nightmare. I don't know how it is for you guys, but it's getting worse up here, man. It's getting worse. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that it is very difficult, and it is more difficult for the coaches that have like young categories, and it's really hard for them. Well, Coach, it has been everything now, and just one more thing that I would like to ask you is just, what would you say now to the Mexican coaches and the Mexican players, like a last advice, leaving the situation that we have in this time?
Yeah, my only advice: keep doing exactly what you guys are doing. This is awesome. I mean, I think this was awesome for me. Hopefully, you guys got something out of it. Go visit, go see other people. Go see a college program, go see a high school program, go visit your biggest rival. Come see us, and I'll introduce you to Southwestern College's coach or something. That's what I try to do, is go see as many different things as possible and just keep learning. This game's evolving, and we're all going to just keep learning from each other. And please, if you ever want to reach out, or if you're ever in San Diego, give me a call.
Let me just translate that, just to be clear with everyone that we have this nice advice. And pues el coach finaliza diciendo y compartiendo con todos nosotros que sigamos haciendo estas clínicas, que sigamos compartiendo, aprendiendo. Una de las grandes herramientas y grandes cuestiones que podemos tener como coaches es esta libertad y esta hambre para poder aprender fútbol, compartir, y pues nos hace a todos pues la abierta invitación para poderlos visitar, para poderles escribir y aprender más fútbol de ellos. Con esto terminamos. Coach, we appreciate everyone is saying thanks so much. It's very happy and appreciate everything that you have done for us. And we personally, as a head coach in the program of Tecnológico de Monterrey, Campus Ciudad de México, we are really happy to finish this clinic with a person, with a 5-star person as you are. And well, thanks so much for everyone. Just to share a little bit of football, what we can have in here is, well, for everyone now. And we will keep on the advice of Coach Joyner. Thanks so much. Thank you, Ernesto, to Tercer, Cuarto. Thank you, coaches that were also giving their sessions, and for all of the attendance in this clinic for this beautiful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.